Peace, this is Jarrell with Climb Like Consciousness. I want to talk about all the things that have been happening in December, and just because the last two videos have been so long, been almost an hour and a half long, I want to kind of like condense a lot of the information into a short period of time here. And I wanted to go over the things that have been taking place in a lot of the venues in the world today, just because it's kind of hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up, and it's good to review things. So here we go. So let's start with the most recent thing that's happened. Right now, what's happening is the drones that have been popping up all over, pretty much all over the world, pretty much. That's always been happening. Yet the government wants to say, "Oh, they're drones. They're drones. They're technology drones. They're actually being flown by mechanical bases." There have always been UFOs, UAPs that have been popping up all over the world all the time, especially in specific places where there's stargates on the ground that linked up into the star systems across the galaxy. They won't tell you about that. Yet, as of right now, they're trying to control the narrative and say, "Oh, look, here, things are happening now. Here, there's drones taking place." Which, yes, there are mechanical drones. And yes, there are lights in the sky. However, the government isn't going to tell you exactly what it is. They're going to try to manipulate and distort and spin and skew any type of information and try to get you to think the worst about it. What they will tell you is that it's there, but they won't tell you what it's for. There's, for some reason, a lot of the drone activity has been concentrated in New Jersey, which is odd to me because I grew up in New Jersey and that's where I saw my first UFO. I saw my first UFO literally rise up out of a lake. There's actually 3 UFOs. I saw them over my neighborhood. I have the whole story in one of my past videos about the UAP conference that happened, the first one that happened last year. I go into the whole story, but basically what happened was I was in New Jersey in my neighborhood. There was one craft that rose up into the clouds, and there's another craft rose up into the clouds, and there's another craft rose up into the clouds above the lake. It was very loud, but nobody was looking. Nobody was paying attention. It changed me forever. And there's a lake in that neighborhood which had an underwater portal leading down into some underworld area or inner earth area somewhere. And there was always UFO activity that was happening around there. So one day I saw it. So it's just odd that all these drones are concentrated in New Jersey. Yet my specific understanding of it is that they're trying to stage some type of fake alien invasion, some type of fake alien threat, because they tried World War III last month. They tried to have Ukraine start firing long-range missiles into Russia when they literally were in direct violation of a hard line for a nuclear war. They wanted to start a nuclear war because they lost their office. They're out of office. Trump is now in office. So if they can't win, they're going to try to destroy the earth, or they're going to try to create mass hysteria if they can't start World War III. So they can't start World War III. So now guess what? They're going to try to create mass pandemonium hysteria and panic worldwide and say, "Oh, it's an alien invasion. Look at all these drones. Look at all these things in the sky." When they're really just like, a lot of them are actual UAPs. Like we have usually when you see something that looks like it's probably a mechanical plane, yet it's flying very fast and it's spinning, especially if you see 3 lights. If you see 3 lights in a triangle, what you have there is a special access Black Manta TR-3B UAP spacecraft that can go from 0 to 25,000 miles per hour in like 15 seconds, stop on a dime, make a right hand 90-degree turn, go 25,000 miles again, miles per hour, and literally just zip around the galaxy like that. And take all these types of portals and anything they want to do while we're here down here working for slave dollars. Oh, count the pennies. We need the pennies, the human energy. We need every single cent. And they're fucking zipping through fucking stargates and portals, going and creating their own wars with slave systems, with colonies of slaves on different planets, for more people to start more interdimensional wars with ETs. So what they're doing is they're trying to shock the population more into submission by saying, oh, look, there's this outer world threat that's happening. Look in the sky, look. We don't know what these lights are. What are these drones? They're popping up. They're popping up because we're too scared because we don't have power anymore. So we're going to try to scare you into any type of situation that will get our power back. That's not going to work. These drones are nothing. They're actually nothing. They're actually probably remote control and pilotless. There are some that have pilots, like TR-3Bs. You'll see those. They'll spin. It's three lights. They'll spin slowly, and then it'll either disappear or it'll spin slowly and and it's gone. However, TR-3Bs have been around since like the 1980s. They've had those for a long time. That's what's happening with the drones. It's literally nothing. So nothing to get worried about. Just like World War III, the whole World War III thing was nothing to get worried about. Putin is not stupid. He would never start World War III because dumbass Biden decided to give Ukraine authority to shoot missiles when there's the best president we ever had coming into office right now, when they had an amazing relationship and the world was in a better place than it ever was before when this guy was in office. He wasn't going to start World War III. He had MSNBC just pushing the fear, just feeding off the fear of everybody because of that. That wasn't going to happen. Same thing with these drones. There's nothing happening with these drones. So another thing that happened was Justin Trudeau met with Trump back in the beginning of December. He met with Trump and, he showed up in Mar-a-Lago one day. And it's like, oh, what is this guy who's ruined Canada doing at Mar-a-Lago? There must be a real reason here. Trump must be actually having fun with them because he's in power. The guy is now in power of the United States. If you know who Justin Trudeau is, you know he's a scumbag. He's not been a good guy for Canada in the 9 years, 7 or 9 years he's been elected as prime minister. Since he took office, he's literally frozen bank accounts for truckers during that trucker revolt, during that trucker protest. Froze bank accounts, just shut him down for no reason, just because he's a puppet. The guy has flooded the streets with crime. There's a $61 billion deficit. He's not somebody who's the friend of Canada. He's not a good leader, and more than 67% of Canada wants him gone. So he shows up at Mar-a-Lago. Trump's like, of course he's going to listen to whatever this guy is trying to get from him, but like he's going to troll him. So literally he said that if you don't play ball with America, you're going to get annexed and you're going to turn into the 51st state of the United States of America. He said that because Justin Trudeau has been allowing anybody to come through the border through Canada. Literally, if anybody wanted to get to the United States, they can either go through Mexico or they can go through Canada. And we all know that Mexico has been, funding a whole bunch of people in for agendas from the Democrats, for voter fraud mainly. They want fake votes for people who don't count, who aren't actually citizens, so they can pass any law and get anybody in the office for any type of agenda. So that's what they've been trying to do in this last election that failed. Also for crime, they want to be able to pump up the crime in any state, in any area, so they can forcibly do anything they want to pass any laws, to take away any type of guns, to take away any type of freedoms when they have their own personal militia of foreign migrants that will do anything for food. Just these things is what they do. So Justin Trudeau was allowing all types of migrants through the Canadian border, which is why Trump was so hard on him. So if you're in Canada and you think that Trump is being a jackass, he was doing that because Justin Trudeau, he's not a good leader. He's a scumbag. All right. So another thing that happened was the CEO of UnitedHealth was shot. As this guy was walking out of his tower, a lone assassin who was waiting pretty long for this guy in the cold with the hood up, walked up behind the CEO, shot him. The gun jammed. He shoots again, and then he walks by him as the guy is on the ground, and he runs off into Central Park in New York. So watching this happen was I don't know, it was really just mind blowing because I saw this unfold as it was happening, as the news story was broken, and then as the footage of this happening was broken, and as these close-up shots of this assassin, of this killer just being released, and then more information about the gun casings that was found at the scene of the crime. All this stuff happening just consecutively from X.com, the number one news aggregator currently, run by Elon Musk. So it's awesome that we can see things like this happening and we can all process them together. Because when I saw these things happening, there's multiple different types of reactions. There was a reaction from oh, how could somebody do this? He was just a guy going to work and now he's shot. And this is sad that somebody actually waited for this guy and shot him in cold blood and ran away and got away with it. Right. And then you have, because it is a terrible thing. I was feeling sad for this guy because you're watching this guy just die alone on a sidewalk in a cold city on pavement at night or early in the morning when he's about to start his day and I don't know, probably go kick some ass, and do more things to empower himself, And then you have another area of the internet that's well, that's what happens when you deny millions and millions of people coverage and you allow them to die in hospitals. That's what happens. That's what happens to CEOs who ruthlessly look for ways to try to not take care of people and try to not cover people and allow them to die from medical bills and from illnesses and ailments that insurance companies and healthcare providers have the cures for, yet refuse to release because of money, because of them not wanting to admit that the cure exists. The cure for cancer has been available for probably a century now. And they're still pretending like it doesn't exist, allowing more and more people to die every day and continuing to generate and bring more wealth to them for their cancer foundations, all this stuff, So that's where the other side was. Not saying that the guy deserved to die, because nobody deserves to die like that. Yet both sides are partially right. Both sides are right. Both sides are right. That guy didn't deserve to die. Guy shouldn't have been shot like that and left with a shell casing with messages on it. And then, insurance companies shouldn't be doing this to people when it's obvious blatant cures exist. And we shouldn't have to rely on a fictional dollar to control our access to cures for illnesses and illnesses that rampage through the collective. That's just dark age stuff that's not necessary anymore. It's just not. People are fed up with it. People understand what's happening, and people just don't want to see that anymore. So you see a lot of anger when there is a major crime that happens in front of everybody. There seems to always miraculously be, oh, we found the guy. We found him. We found the guy. We found who did it. Yeah, we got him, all right. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, get him. Perp walk him. Shame him. Put him in front of everybody. String him up. So that's exactly what I predicted was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. All right. So what happens next? After there's footage of this cold-calculated, cold-blooded assassin killer waiting for the CEO out front of his tower, they find them miraculously. They say, "We're gonna find him. We're gonna find him. We're gonna find him. We're gonna find him." And then they found the guy. Right? They allegedly found the guy. And when they bring this kid in front of the cameras, it's like some kid, some 26-year-old kid, some kid who is I think he just graduated college. Just some kid, allegedly. They say they found him in a McDonald's, of all things, for a cold-blooded professional assassin to be hiding at. He's going to show his face in McDonald's. And then the story of how this happened is even more ridiculous. Somebody at McDonald's was like, "Hey, oh, that kind of looks like the killer of the CEO that just happened." First off, the killer was wearing a mask. Like he was literally, he had a hood up, right? You could barely, there's no full shot of his face anywhere. There's one shot where you see the bottom of his face smiling, and there's another shot where you only see the top of his face when he's like shooting the gun. Profile shot of this killer at all. Secondly, like the way they caught this kid, it's like you think they have some type of DNA on sample or something, because once this random person in the McDonald's said, "Hey, that kind of looks like this kid, this shooter that we have no full profile pickup, no DNA samples of, and no knowledge of whatsoever. It kind of looks like that the killer shot the CEO. It kind of looks like him 3 years ago." So once this person said this, they all jump on this kid, right? And of course, when they get to this kid, who, by the way, is into Pokemon, loves comics, and who just graduated school, I don't know, like whatever, I don't know, like who just graduated school, it's like, who has a family who's rich, who has a family who's worth like something like 100 million. Like it doesn't make any sense. This is some dweeb in a McDonald's who got set up, and then, oh yeah, we caught him, and then we tracked him. It turns out he's got $8,000 worth of cash, and he's got all these passports and tickets to go anywhere. It's like, it's obvious it wasn't this person. It's not even close. And if you look into like why this CEO was assassinated, is because he was being probed by the Department of Justice. And it's basically just like the guy was about to spill the beans about, all the favors he's been giving Congress for being a CEO in the healthcare industry, for drugs, for kickbacks and for favors and for the things he was doing behind closed doors when he shouldn't have been doing them. Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. The profile doesn't. The profile of this photo that they've been dropping of what this assassin looks like doesn't match a college kid who's into comics and loves Pokemon. In order to pull off a hit like that, you need to be like, first off, you need to be professionally trained to even get away from something like that. To pull something off like that, you need to have a whole lot of like knowledge. He didn't know where this guy was going to be. He had to sit there and wait and stay calm when the guy showed up and walked out, and then the gun jammed, and then he continued to stay calm and unjam the gun and continue firing. This guy, this wasn't a kid. It wasn't a kid. That's just my opinion on it. Okay. So that's what I say about that. So one more thing I wanted to cover. I just, wanted to keep it short, because if I cover everything that happened in December, I'd be here all night. One other thing that just recently happened is the government shutdown that's happening now for the heat of the Democrats, of course. The plutocrat Democrats that just want to destroy everything and want everything to go into the ground if they don't get their way. So what they did was they released they partitioned a 1,400 page bill for everybody to sign in a maneuver to get everybody to sign it so they can get a whole bunch of stuff that they want for themselves without it having to be looked at, so they can go home early to spend the holidays with their family. And as the government is new and changing and going to be renovated and cut and revamped, that's not going to happen anymore. Like this stuff isn't going to happen anymore. You don't get to choose whether or not the government's going to be open because you want your stuff and you want it now, and you're rattling your rattle and you're crying with your freaking pacifier in your mouth. It's not going to happen anymore. So there's been like warnings sent out from speakers in the House. They wanted a whole lot of stuff from this bill. A lot of the stuff had to do with wage or salary increases for the senators and more vacation time for the senators, stuff like that. And it's just like, there's no reason why that should be in the bill for what they said it was for. It was supposed to be for spending for the State Department. Yet spending in this, all that, they put all of these extra things into it. So what just recently happened is that it was blocked and it was cut down from 1,500 pages to 150 because they have Vivek Ramaswamy in there now, who's like I don't know, I think he's like a billionaire genius who could just go through pages either himself or with, tools with AI to actually summarize and look at all these things and get the bullet points of what a 1,500 page document is actually trying to say, and allow things to move more expediently and not in a slow bureaucratic manner. So this is one of the main things that is going to change in the government. Having things front and center, plain English, bold lettering, saying what this is, what we get, and the outcome of it. And not all this smoke and mirrors and fake bureaucratic nonsense that these Democrats have been feeding off of for centuries. So this was huge. I'm glad that this happened. And it's really going to start to usher in a new age. It's going to start to usher in the funds being released, as Senate Masters always said. Funds are going to be released. There's tons and tons of gold hidden in sealed chambers, hermetically sealed chambers throughout the mountains and throughout the inner caverns in the United States. I've read about this in the book Unveiled Mysteries by Godfrey King. And basically what they say is that funds will be released and things are going to happen. Everything's going to go back to the gold standard, which seems to be happening. And after that happens, technology shifts, abundance is going to catapult and peak upwards, and freedom starts to reign, which means a lot of things. There's going to be less and less poverty until the eradication of poverty happens. No more hunger. There's going to be world peace. There's going to be no more homelessness. All this stuff is going to happen because when you look at things and when things starts to get like actually monitored and looked at and surveilled and brought up and processed immediately with people watching, when people are actually taking place in what happens as a result of that immediately, things start to speed up. Everything starts to happen on a revolution, and then we become a global civilization. We become a global society to where we're all on one wavelength and we're all spinning on the same revolution. We're all seeing what's happening as it's happening, and we're all weighing in on it, and we're all doing the same things at the same time. That's how you become a galactic civilization. This is why I'm doing these news updates, because everybody's seeing everything that's happening at once. And when these things all happen at the same time, we're all here as one, and we're becoming a collective that's growing and evolving and becoming an embodiment of themselves. It's the most beautiful thing ever, This is why I love this channel. This is why I love speaking. This is why I love like growing with you guys and sharing my insights. It's amazing. So that's the end of this update. I hope you guys liked it. Peace and love. If you guys like a session, check out my website, quantum-light.org. I do a lot of stuff on there. I also have a t-shirt line, empathgear.com, with organite devices on there as well. Check those out. Peace and love. I will talk to you guys soon.